We don't even know where the instigating kaiju came from, let alone the ghost or the tiger. There is no way, in my opinion, that Kaiju number 8 is wrapping up in anything under 300 chapters. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today, we are going to be taking a look at a question that I've seen roaming around the internet. Now, there will be some spoilers up through about chapter 70 or 80-ish, but this won't be a spoiler-heavy chapter. We're just going to be discussing the pace of the manga and how much story is left to be told. So a lot of people are thinking that this battle with Kaiju number 9 is the final arc. And I don't think that at all. Based on what Kaiju number 9 is, or what he likely is, all of the clues we've seen so far in the series, I would not be surprised if this was setting up to be a 1,000-chapter manga. But I really don't see it ending in anything under 300 chapters. I think we're at least getting a Black Clover level manga out of this, if not a straight up One Piece level manga out of this story. The nature of the story is that of the adults in the world dealing with what is a very realistic reflection of the human condition in the natural world. So there is a near infinite permutation of stories that Matsumoto could continue to tell us while still maintaining the engaging nature of the story. But let's break this down into the individual parts. And I've compiled a list here of all of the story elements that are still unexplained. We're going to start off with a fairly minor one, but a fairly spectacular one. Bako, Mina's tiger. Now I think it's probably a liger, primarily because it hunts so effectively. Bako is clearly an independent agent, following Mina's orders, but following them with high intelligence and willingness to hunt cooperatively. Now, tigers are extremely intelligent. They are the most intelligent of the cats, but they're not cooperative hunters. The male doesn't even stick around to help the female raise the cubs. But lions, not nowhere near as intelligent or as big as tigers, are cooperative hunters, and a male lion is genetically predisposed to act independently while assisting the female in his pride with the hunt. And so if you cross over and get a liger with the genes of both a lion and a tiger, you have exactly what Bako is, a highly intelligent cooperative hunter providing backup for the female of his pride. And that would make a lot of sense. So, we don't know how Mina got this tiger, and yet the liger is a character in of itself. So I think the fact that we haven't learned where Bako comes from yet is relevant. I think we are going to learn that. That is going to be an important part of the story. That is a natural question for the fandom to ask and a natural question for the mangaka to answer. But, again, that's a very small thing. That could be probably done easily in a chapter. I don't think it will. I think it will be bigger than that. But it's not going to take too long to answer. So let's talk about, we don't even know where little guy come from. The little insect kaiju that somehow broke into a hospital. Now, modern day hospitals do not let vermin in. In a first world modern hospital, the kind of hospital you're going to find in Tokyo, that they send victims of disaster relief to, they don't let vermin in. They're specifically designed not to let vermin in because vermin are one of the major carriers of sickness. And that little kaiju, distinctly verminish, exactly the size of a rat. Now he can fly, which gives him greater ability, but the window was closed, and the vent systems are specifically set up to not let vermin through in hospitals. So how'd that little guy get in there? We don't know where he comes from. We don't know why he chose Kafka, because he was distinctly looking for somebody. Maybe he was looking specifically for Kafka, or maybe he was looking for any human who matched certain criteria that Kafka happened to match. Now, Kafka is dedicated, persistent, intelligent, compassionate, And these are all really good qualities in a human being. He was generally healthy for his age, for that part of the world, but there's nothing really about Kafka that makes him stand out. He is truly an everyman with better developed virtues than the average human in that state. So why was the little guy looking for Kafka? We don't know. Why does the little guy want to kill Kaiju? Why is he so focused on that? It's possible he did not have that mindset and absorbed it from Kafka, but we don't know. All we know is that little guy showed up in the hospital after Kafka was attacked by a surprise Yoju, that the little guy told Kafka psychically that he was looking for him, or that he was looking for somebody who met Kafka's qualifications, and that this little guy seems to have expressed the desire to kill Kaiju. And we don't know. We just got a few fragments of words, not even a full sentence. So there's so much we don't know. And that is definitely an element that desperately needs to be explained before the end of the series. And that is not going to be wrapped up in one chapter like the Bako thing does. That is going to be a slow bit-by-bit revelation. Now, in addition to this, there's another story element that's going to take a lot more time to go into. What actually happened to Hikari Shinamaya's body? We haven't seen her body yet, in the same way that we didn't see her husband's body when he was absorbed by Kaiju number 9. Now, when Kaiju number 9 absorbed Iso, he was absolutely focused on absorbing Iso and the number 2 weapon after they had merged and Iso had warmed up the number 2 weapon, suggesting that Kaiju number 9 does need a human host to be wearing the numbered weapon in order to reabsorb the numbered weapon and absorb the powers of the Kaiju that it was made from, which is logically consistent with the rest of the story. But now Kaiju number 9 is going after Mina on her, with the focus and intent of capturing Mina's power. Now, Mina, as far as we know, is a 100% all-beef human. So why is Kaiju number 9 so focused on her? Without a numbered weapon, and she does not have a numbered weapon, why would there be any reason to go after her at all? We don't know, other than the fact that perhaps Kaiju number 9 is capable of absorbing the inherent talent that humans have for using Kaiju weaponry. But this does imply, whatever is the thing behind it. Remember, Kaiju number 9 is not intellectually omnipotent. That's not how he's been shown in the show. He could be wrong. Maybe there will be no net benefit to absorbing Mina. But if Kaiju number 9 is justified in his intense focus on absorbing a powerful defense force officer, remember, before Mina there was Hikari. And I believe that Kaiju number 9's focus on absorbing Mina is a clue that Kaiju number 9 was also as focused on absorbing Hikari, though Kaiju number 9 would not have had a bit as thorough an understanding of the human culture back then. So maybe something went wrong with the absorption. But I think what we see here in Kaiju number 9 focusing so much on absorbing Mina is a mirror of when Kaiju number 9 absorbed Hikari, which we don't know what happened. It's not canon, but I believe that we have gotten enough clues that it's entirely possible that Kaiju number 9 did absorb Hikari. Now, we come to another point. Reno is distinctly suspicious. Reno has been presented as suspicious. Now, don't get me wrong, we all love our boy Reno, but Reno was there when the little guy appeared to Kafka in the waiting room. Reno was suspiciously down with helping Kafka from the get-go as soon as Kafka had transformed. And if you look at Reno's conversation with Kafka as they're fleeing the hospital when Kafka's been transformed into Kaiju number 8, yes, you can read it as a new friend frantically trying to figure out if there's still a human in there. You could also read it as someone who deliberately caused this change, being surprised that there was still a human in there and trying to figure out why the change hadn't been entirely successful. We only know one thing about Reno's past, and that's he once visited a defense force base, supposedly with a school group. And Reno just happens to be the only human compatible with the most powerful Kaiju weapon known, the previous king of the Kaiju. So, There's a whole bunch we don't know about Reno, and I don't think the series is going to wrap up until we get that information. Why is Reno's past and history a blank when we've got so much of Kikoru's, of Jin Narumi's, of Kafka's, of Mina's, of of Iharu's, of that random girl who had a crush on Captain Jin Narumi? Why do we know so little about Reno's past? All during his training arc, Reno was focused on taking care of Kafka and Kaiju number 8. So, what's going on there? Is Reno connected to the Kaiju? We don't know, but there's massive clues in that direction. Even if it is a blind for Matsumoto, the blind must be explained. And again, that's going to be a huge story arc. And then we have, remember, of the original group of rookies, you had Reno, who was with Kafka, you had Kikoru, you had Iharu, who's Reno's BFF, and you had the military, the transfer from the regular military, muscle and tan guy, and then you had the industry icon, the son of the wealthiest weapons manufacturer in Japan. So here you have represented all of these suspicious goings-on in the military, who happen to be there watching Kafka, and all of the suspicious goings-on in the private industry, who happens to be there watching Kafka. They've been off training. We haven't even seen their training arc, other than that they were with the, 2nd Division, I believe? But they're off training really hard, and again, we don't know their backstories. Now, but we hear say that the super rich son of the guy who makes, of the company that makes all of the weapons for the Japanese Defense Force, and presumably a lot of Kaiju defense weapons worldwide, had to join the Defense Force for family reasons. Now, that could just be a family tradition, getting boots on the ground to see how the weapons are used so that when he takes over the company, he can make the best weapons, provide the best service to the community, and make the best profit for his family. But maybe they knew that the little guy had escaped containment from their lab where they'd grown him, and they knew he had a desire to kill Kaiju, so maybe they were looking for the little guy in Kaiju number 8. Probably not. It's probably nothing like that. But I'm just saying that the backgrounds of the other 2 rookies who we haven't seen yet have very, very suspicious circumstances. Why did they both leave one a guaranteed career in the military, the other a guaranteed career in the private industry, to come and be grunts in the Defense Force? It's a little sus, just like Reno. Now, then we have some of the other clues that they were dropped around the Defense Force conversation table. There is another nation other than Japan that is doing kaiju to human tissue transfer research, and doing it in a way that is significantly different from the kaiju to human medical treatments that the Japanese Defense Force has been using consistently to treat their Defense Force officers for a long time. So, what's going on with that? Is the little guy the result of that? Probably not. It did seem like something of a red herring dropped, to just a natural thing that they would consider, but I sincerely think that's going to come in. Then we have the kaiju in the room, as it were, the USA. Kikoru studied at the California University. Now, being a rich girl with her eyes on the prize of this career, she would only have gone to the best training. That means that despite Japan being the kaiju capital of the world, it was still considered of benefit to her to go and train in an American university. Now, America has a massive Pacific coastline, all of Alaska, all of the West Coast, shared with Canada. So America would obviously, in this world, although not dealing with as many kaiju as Japan, have to have a kaiju branch of the military, a 6th branch of the military, an extension of the Coast Guard, as it were. And so the American style of kaiju defense is valuable enough that the prodigy of Japan went to the California school to study. That means that the Americans have their fingers in this Japanese pie, in this kaiju pie. So why haven't we seen more of that? what's going on there? Now, obviously, why we haven't seen more is the story's focused in Japan, in Tokyo, but why drop all of those references to the fact that there is this American military presence if you're not going to bring it in later? And that is going to be multiple story arcs right there. Then we have the ghost that Kafka saw in the shrine. Coming right before, we get these ghosts explained as memories of the numbered weapons. And of course, there is an obvious comparison between Kaiju number 8 and a numbered weapon. Kafka has this little bit of Kaiju connected to his body, inside rather than outside, but it allows him to use Kaiju powers as if it were a numbered weapon. So, was there another samurai back in the day when it was just Kaiju slayers and not the defense force who also hosted the little guy? Was there another Kaiju shifter like Kafka? Is this a generational thing with the little guy just finding a new host every generation? We don't know, but there's no way that that's even going to be confined to one story arc. Discovering the past of the little guy and what it has to do with the ghost that Kafka saw in the shrine is going to be a huge part. It's going to be a very big part of this story. And I don't see that wrapping up in even one arc. Now, all of this isn't even happening. The obvious Rinu Aiharu weapon number 6 arc that's upcoming. We are going to see those 3 go out on the battlefield and blast something with their giant gun. So, but again, that will be wrapped up in a few chapters. So, how long is Kaiju number 8 going to last? Again, I don't see all of the elements of this story getting properly wrapped up in anything less than 300 chapters. I think that 300 chapters is a very reasonable low-end estimate. I definitely see it being able to go to 400 or 500 chapters. There is a possibility, but only extreme outliers like One Piece get to 1,000 chapters. But I think this manga is the outlier that could make it. But just my estimate, my guesstimate, no less than 300 chapters for this manga. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Am I overestimating the length of time it's going to take to work through all these story beats? Am I overestimating the importance of any of these story beats? Maybe you think they're not going to be included at all. But please tell me what you think in the comments below. I love to hear your theories. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers. Do you love awesome science fiction books? Of course you do. If you check out the links below the video, you can get yourself a copy of Comedy or Tragedy. Humans Are Weird. I have the data. Humans Are Weird. We took a vote, and Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out are the 3 comedy short story books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play. There's even some copies at Powell's Books, the famous used bookstore in Portland, Oregon. Dying Embers, dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night, and soon Flying Sparks, more dramatic traditional science fiction novels, are also available at Amazon. Flying Sparks is still on the pre-order page. If you want a copy, you can email me by contacting the website to pre-order yourself a copy. It's still being edited. So check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of some wonderful science fiction.